Hi, welcome to episode 20 of No Holds Barred. That's Sal.
Yeah.
And that's Liz. We've got a special guest this week. If you're watching us, you'll know already on YouTube or Spotify. So, Liz, do you want to introduce yourself and tell our listeners / watchers a bit about yourself, please?
I'm Liz Webster, and I'm the founder of Save British Farming, which is here because of Brexit, really. So I've been fighting against Brexit for, over 9 years, nearly a decade, and still going. Will we ever win? I don't know. But for me, Brexit was always about, because we farm, always about food, but also I think I married into farming, but for me, Brexit was always about food, because I remember what it was like before we went into the EU. And my grandfather was a cook in the war. He was stationed in India, and he cooked for the RAF, Air, Land and Sea Rescue, whatever it's called. So his indoctrination of me made me acutely aware of food and fairness and the welfare state and all those sort of things. So I knew that coming out of Europe would take us back to a dark age. And so it frightened me. So that's why I've been fighting against it. And I have to say that I've been proved right.
Yeah.
It's like watching a car crash in motion, isn't it?
In slow motion, it is. Oh, that's really interesting. My grandfather was stationed in India in the war. He was in the RAF over there. Yeah,
so was mine.
Oh, perhaps my grandfather cooked for you.
Yeah,
also.
I wonder if that was the case. He was out in India. He was an undergunner in the Liberator Squadron. So yeah, it's quite possible. It's a nice little connection.
What do you know?
So.
Yeah, no, my grandfather also witnessed the famine out there, which is something that's always stayed with me. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
He wouldn't let us leave any food. Like, you could only leave this stalk on your apple. You had to eat everything.
That's where it comes from. All my childhood, all my mum used to say to me was, eat that or the kid, because there are starving kids in Africa.
Yeah.
And that's what her dad will have, God.
Yeah.
It never made any sense to me, but that explains where it comes from.
Yeah, my grandparents always said it was to do with rationing as well after the war, that they were really observant as to what they ate and made sure that we were really focused, exactly the same as you, on never allowed to leave the table until we'd finished our plates.
Yeah, I've still got his manual of cooking, so I'll send it to you, his recipe book.
Oh,
yes,
wow.
it's really interesting.
Oh, wow. Oh, that'd be really interesting. Actually, I went to a World War II museum not that long ago, and they were making chocolate brownies, I think. Oh, no, not brownies. Flapjack, but using the recipe from the war. They were really nice, actually.
Lard and more lard.
Basically, yeah. It's quite tasty. So, yeah. Okay, brilliant. Right, so, episode 20. Is that a score? I think that's a score, isn't it? A score of episodes.
Bingo, round 20, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So,
another thing I used to do is called bingo.
Did you? Oh, right, excellent. So as always, every week we just sort of take a look at anything political, social, and anything else we can think of. And that's about it, really. We're just going to get on with our usual chat, and Liz will got some questions for you, and we'll just have some chat about some different stuff. But we'll start with Sal's PMQ's roundup. You can tell by her face she loves it, and it's the first week back.
First week back. So it was a lovely break.
We'll get that out of the way first of all.
Yeah, please excuse me, Liz. I pretty much paraphrase PMQs because it's such performative nonsense. I find it very difficult to take it seriously. So, Starmer started out wanging on about we've got a great big shipbuilding contract with Norway, which I'm going to assume is very, very good, but we will be importing a lot of that steel, won't we? There's a childcare rollout, which apparently is very good for people with very young children, but not so good for nurseries and childcare settings, which are going the way of British pubs, it would seem, judging by some of the things I've read on Twitter this week from people who provide childcare. Dunn Butler had a question about gambling shops and how councils have got their hands tied on the amount of them that are opening on high streets. And she suggested that we tax them to fuck. Again, I'm paraphrasing. Badenoch stood up and gave her RIPs to David Warburton, who died under no suspicious circumstances, but surprisingly. Probably, I mean, who would want to speculate on what that man died of? But he wasn't the greatest politician we've ever seen. She then she went on about a Rachel Thieves thing, which is just fucking playground stuff. She must have mentioned Rayner at some point. Starmer basically explained that she's fully explained herself. He backs her totally. He bigged her up. And then said, basically, Tories can't do money either. Who are you to talk? Badenoch comes back with borrowing is higher than grease. Why is that? Starmer says her claims are as credible as her being invited to Stanford University, which I believe is a thing that I wasn't up on. They then went on, blah, 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 Punch and Judy. Badenoch, taxes are going up and all the wealthy people are shitting themselves. That was her line, it seemed to be. The budget's coming, taxes are going to go up. Blah, blah, blah. It got nowhere, just words. The plant question was so poorly read, I can't even remember what it was. And then we come to our Ed Davey Award of the Week. Because he started talking about Gaza and asked Starmer, will the PM take on Trump during the state visit? And Starmer agreed in principle on what Davey said about Gaza, but he didn't refer to Trump once. And then he taunted Davey on refusing to attend the state banquet, where you could go and talk to him yourself. Or words to that effect. It was disgusting. His response, it was so unserious about such a serious topic.
Also, I just wanted to say, I heard Davey on LBC. I listened to him last week, and he was on sitting in for James O'Brien, and he actually brought that up himself. And he said that he's been to these things before, and he said the chances of him even getting close to Trump are negligible. Yeah. So that argument point from Starmer basically means nothing, because he wouldn't have had a hope in hell of getting close to Trump at that too. So yeah, that was a bit of
and even if he could,
what
the hell difference are you going to make in amongst 1,000 people all attending a state? It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it was a weak source reply from Starmer.
He did, however, his next question, he talked about the ECHR and how Tories and Reform want to leave. The Lib Dems and the majority completely disagree with that stance. Will Starmer promise not to withdraw? Starmer confirmed that he wouldn't, but he would continue to work on various issues we have within the ECHR, which I imagine amounts to return of failed asylum seekers. And that is literally all she wrote, because...
yeah.
Oh, no, I lie. I'm sorry, there's another half a page.
Oh, no, joy.
Yeah. One for you, Liz. The man whose name fails me from Ulster had the young Ulster farmers in.
Okay.
And Ulster, I think it was young Ulster farmers against IHT. Starmer welcomed them. And yeah, swerved it. Bel Ribeiro Addy asked about the British citizens on the latest flotilla to Gaza. What protections are there? He didn't actually respond to a question, but what he did say was that Israel has deliberately created this famine, which I thought was interesting.
I heard him say that.
I didn't watch PMQs this week, so I don't know what was going on.
Look after that mental health.
Yeah, he said a man-made famine, didn't he?
Yeah.
Did he?
He said what Israel have done is, I can't remember the exact words, but he was poo-pooing Israel. So he's...
yeah, he did.
Which is interesting, because next week, do you know who's visiting the UK next week? Isaac Herzog, the President of Israel.
Isaac Herzog, yeah.
And he's being received by us. I just can't. Anywho, the SNP, the SNP are livid. They weren't informed of the date for this year's budget, and it's fucked their accounting schedule right up. Which, I
Oh,
mean,
really?
why would
I
you not
missed that.
inform them?
No.
It seems
Strange.
The wrong thing.
insane. It's so unprofessional at best. Keir Starmer's response, again paraphrasing, he basically said, "Shut up and be grateful for what you're getting."
Right. Yeah.
So
That sounds
that was
about right.
PMQs from this country, which is just embarrassing, to be honest. But yeah, that was this week. So you're up to date now. If you want anything else, go and Google it.
Yeah. It doesn't really get any better, does it, after the summer break? It's just, I mean, we've talked about it hundreds, well, at least 20 times that
Circus of clowns, isn't it? Largely.
it is, and nothing ever comes out of it particularly worthwhile. So
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was that.
So
Yeah, it's a puppet show.
indeed.
It's shameful.
Indeed.
It's so shameful. Where's their, like, dignity and respect and self-worth?
Well,
In
I
their
mean,
bank account.
There is no dignity and respect, or there wasn't any dignity and respect when we had a feudal system, apart from you had to top your hat, you know, to the Lord, and that's where they're taking us back to. So
Feels like
the
that.
main problem is a lot of people still believe that there's power in democracy, but that has been hollowed out now.
Well,
And
speaking of which, Liz, I've got a bit of a theory that I wanted to put to you, because I've been paying attention for quite a while now. And it's on, whilst we will differ on, all things being equal, I think everyone should pay the same rate of in everything on the scale. That's, you know, generally, all things being equal. Things are not equal. And the way they've finagled the new IHT, it is leaving, and correct me if I'm wrong, please, it is leaving small, medium farms open to being sucked up by big corp. Am I right?
yeah, I mean, look, it's not just farms; it's all SMEs. So it's all.
Well, this is
private
where I was
business.
going, because if we
Yeah.
look, veterinary practices, do you remember when they used to be privately owned, Liz? You will. How many of them are privately owned now? And how many have been
hardly any
sucked
now,
up by
yeah.
venture capitalists as a brand? Right? So we've had that with vets.
We've got the same with dental, private dental surgeries, exactly the same thing.
mass housing purchases for corporate rent.
Yep.
We've got leaseholds have been sold en masse to foreign buyers. That's been a thing for years. Retail parks are doing it to shops, for the SME shops. And then at the big top of it all, you've got the likes that have already done it of Unilever, who own all the different brands, but they're just basically a fucking monopoly, aren't they? Because they're selling all the different types of chocolate, just with different wrappings. So they are the monopoly.
This whole thing of thinking that fairness, that everybody should pay the same amount of inheritance tax, for instance, it's a culture war that they've injected. Because what has been going on since the war was that they decided, because of the need for food security, to subsidise agriculture.
Yeah.
Because we went straight from a system where it was a feudal system, where the lords controlled the food, and we had the Corn Laws, and that stopped the sheep imports coming in, which were growing as we expanded the British Empire, especially into the Americas. And so they kept the Corn Laws there to protect the British market and the British barons from that cheap grain. And then eventually the Corn Laws were repealed after the massive fight, which was almost like Brexit in many ways, which was led by the Liberals, actually, in 1846. And after the repeal of the Corn Laws, the people left the land and went to the cities, and it coincided with the Industrial Revolution. And that's why we have this divide today between the Tories really in the rural seats and the Labour people becoming, which started with the Liberal vote in the cities. And then that culminated in 2 world wars. And after the Second World War, we said never again. And so to protect our food system, because that cheap grain hollowed out British agriculture, and we went through a massive depression. And we went into 2 world wars and nearly starved. And so we decided that we had to subsidise British agriculture to ensure food security. And then part of that, we joined the European Union in 1973. And part of that meant that we then consolidated the protection of agriculture, because Europe also nearly starved, obviously. In fact, more people died from starvation than they did from bombs. So what people don't realise is that when we signed Maastricht in 1992, under John Major, the inheritance tax was all to do with subsidy. So in every single European country, they want a level playing field. And so to ensure a level playing field, some countries still could charge inheritance tax because they had price controls on what the farm gate prices were, or the small businesses. And what had happened here in this country in 1964, Tesco, owned by Michael Cohen, lobbied the Tories, Alec Douglas Hone, to repeal something called the resale price maintenance, which stopped middlemen paying beneath the cost of production. And that is when we lost control. And this is where a lot of farmers that believe in Brexit got it wrong, because they were blaming the EU for the undercutting. The undercutting happened because of the loss of the RPM. And because of the loss of the RPM, when we joined Europe, they said, well, hang on a second, to make this fair, because if we've got European investors buying farms or businesses in Britain, there's got to be a level playing field. So what successive governments did was release the pressure by expanding the inheritance tax. This had a double-edged sword result in that land prices started to rise, which is why land prices are much higher here than other European countries. They also introduced another thing called rollover, which means if you sell the business and buy another business, then you don't pay any capital gains. So that has meant, that's why the oligarchs have gone into the land, and that's why it's happened. So now those prices for farmers have really stuck. If you look at the graph, literally the farm gate prices have stayed the same from 1964 to the same, but the land prices have gone crazy.
I
And
worked in
that is where we are now. And so they want to crash the farms and the small businesses so the big corporates can buy it. So it's been happening for years. But what Brexit does is it accelerates this reality. And that is what we're living through. And that's why it feels chaos, because they're now able to do what they want because there's no guardrails to protect business. It literally is like turning on a massive hoover and it just sucking everything up. And they're very good at distracting people with culture wars. And the inheritance tax thing in November was hideous, because people that I've been connected with for the best part of a decade were saying like, pay your fucking taxes. And you're kind of like, this is what I've been fighting for, I'm telling you, and this is what it's about. And I always understood, I suppose, what Brexit was, that it was removing the protection so that it goes back into a modern day feudal system, which I don't want, and only the likes of the very richest want. And it is what they have in Singapore, which is what they've always said. In Singapore, 80% of the property in Singapore is rented. They have immigrants in there who work, they're worker bees. And then it just, the city works for the rich. And that is not a comfortable reality to me.
Do they have homeless people in Singapore?
No, they're not allowed to be homeless.
No,
So
I've
what
been to
happens
Singapore.
to
They
people with
don't.
no home?
Well, they just bring in people on license to work.
So they have to give them accommodation and stuff.
So they give them accommodation, which they have to pay part of their wages out of. But all accommodation is owned by corporations. So yeah,
I mean, to
that's
be fair, I
why
don't think
the
most of our
rich
homeless
like
are
it
well
there.
enough.
It's a police state. Everything's tightly managed, and it works if you're rich.
Yeah.
And when I say rich, I mean super rich. It's not just being, everyone says, you farmers are, farmers are only rich on paper because their farms and their land is worth a lot of money. But ultimately, they pass it down generation to generation, so they never realize that wealth. And now they're being forced to sell it. And then they just, then you have to ask, where's your food going to come from? Well, your food's going to come from American global corporations like JBS, who abuse animals and put hormones in the food and chemicals, preservatives, and you are back to the days of gruel, which is food that kills you, which takes me back to my grandfather, because for me it's always been about food, because we are
Yeah.
what we eat, and it's so
Exactly.
important.
And that's why we're all so fucking unhealthy.
Well, it'll get a lot worse under the American food.
What I don't get, and please excuse me, because I know I'm not
sorry,
like
Sam.
most normal people, but farmers have been under the cosh forever. I worked in a sausage factory 30 years ago, and so we were buying sort of obviously meat from wherever they bought them from, the manufacturers, and then selling to supermarkets. And it was like fighting a war, trying to like make profit anywhere, because obviously the farmers aren't making much profit. We weren't making much profit, and Iceland were fucking cock a hoop. But it was like, it was so down to the bone, and this is 30 years ago.
Yeah, well, no, that's exactly right. The numbers have just got bigger for trying to grow things. Your tractors cost a fortune, your seed, fertilizer. I mean, I say actually we would probably make more money gambling on the horses than you would, because it is you're against the weather as well. But
Wow.
farmers are used to being controlled by DEFRA and or, the Ministry of Agriculture before that, and so they tend to sort of do as they're told. But there is a lot of under the current anger and confusion as to what is going on. But it's been purposely created, which is, I think, when we heard
Like all our crises.
Tony Blair's former advisor, McTernan, on GB News say, oh, we're going to do to farmers what Thatcher did to the miners. And again, I've always said that since Brexit. I've always said they're going to do to farming what they did to the miners. I lived through that because I grew up in South Wales. And that is exactly what it is. And people tend to go, oh, it's Labour, so I like Labour, so they're okay. And there's tribalism between the parties.
It's a nonsense.
When ultimately the power is behind the curtain and the puppets come out and play a game, and they're just there to divide us and conquer us. And it's as simple as that.
It's nothing like a democracy, isn't it?
It's not a democracy, no. And it never really has been, no.
It's like the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, it's something we talk about a bit. We talked about it a lot last week. Was the sort of we were talking about it in respect of youth unemployment last week, and how corporate greed is pushing people in different directions, and how it's leading to them laying off people left, right, and centre because of using the national insurance hike, or as it were, from Rachel Reeves as their reasoning to cut so they won't put a dent in their profits effectively. But I assume
we can't attack profiteering. Shh, nobody talk about it. We're never ever going to mention it. Profiteering is sacrosanct. That's it.
The first lie was the austerity lie, which is that if you want to improve the economy, the government needs to spend money. Cutting things only actually shrinks the economy.
Perpetually.
And Labour were admitting that before they got into power. But now Rachel Reeves is in there saying, oh, we've got a black hole and we need to fill it. It's a lie.
Yeah.
Actually, what she's doing is using business as a magic money tree to justify a short-term sugar rush, which is what it did for a few months. But now, a bit like chasing the dragon, people have realised that it was only a short-term pay rise, and now inflation is ahead of the game again, it was inevitable because she hit business, and business will do what it has to do to survive. But ultimately, all of these things that she's doing are leading to a huge crash, and I think that we are going towards another 1990s negative equity disaster, where a lot of people are going to be caught out and lose their homes. And I think it's completely and utterly planned. I think it's what they want, because they do want everybody to fall into being in the rental market and being controlled by their employer, as they have in Singapore. The one thing they've been honest about with Brexit was the Singapore thing. That is what they want, because if they've got you in rental accommodation owned by your employer, controlled by an app, then they've got everything that they need. And then when you're no longer able to work, then that's it. Off you go. And
Top of a
it's
hill.
a really,
Yeah.
it's a really nasty reality. But the reason that we have this way of thinking actually goes back to someone called Thomas Malthus, which was to do with the fear of having too many people and then being overrun by, revolutionaries, of course, as they had in France.
News just in.
So ultimately,
Sorry, Liz.
the elite,
Liz, sorry.
the elite still.
News just in. Angela Rayner's resigned.
Oh,
has she really?
Sorry, do carry on.
Breaking news.
that's okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, Liz. Yeah, go ahead.
That's okay.
We'll talk about that in a sec.
So has she resigned because she was told to resign, or has she preempted it?
I got a 2-word text from upstairs, so I don't know yet. So.
Yeah, I've just had a text as well. Just says she stood down as Deputy Prime Minister, Housing Secretary following an ethics investigation. So the ethics investigation must have found her guilty. Of a breach in that.
I'm very torn on this issue, I've got to say. But anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry, Liz, go on.
Well, no, we're on that now. So it depends what... it could cause real problems. If they buy her off by giving her some sort of backroom job to keep her quiet, then they might be okay, and then they'll put another puppet into government. Hopefully she's got a backbone and she doesn't take that soft option. And she goes onto the backbenches and kicks up shit, because that's the only way. She needs to stir up the likes of Rachel Maskell and Clive
Lewis.
Lewis. And the soft left need a leader. So it could... I'm absolutely clear that the problem that we've got is that Starmer is controlled by Morgan McSweeney, who is part of Blue Labour and Lord Glassman, and they are as right-wing as Nigel Farage. They are the same. They're one and the same. And we will not get back control unless we get those out of power. And they are... I mean, Starmer said it. He prefers Davos to Parliament. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, that's not
left in the first place, wasn't it? It's been groomed.
I don't know where. I don't know where. For whatever reason, he is delivering for that. So, the problem is that the noses get into the troughs and everybody gets controlled by different things. So I suppose we will see now at this moment if Angela Rayner is really from the left, or whether she's been bought out, because that's what will become apparent. And so we'll wait and see what happens.
Maybe it's just a head turning. Who knows?
Yeah.
What's your take on Corbyn Sultana, Liz?
I think it's really not helpful, because it's just another way to collect votes and stop power defeating the right wing Nigel Farage. They want the powers that be want Nigel Farage to win. This week we really felt the majority speak when his thing in Congress went so badly wrong, and everyone suddenly came back to life again on Twitter and social media. It was like, yeah, it's kind of like, that is where the power is. That is 70% are against that, but 30% are with Nigel, and he's only getting the power because everybody's split between different parties, and they're also lost with culture wars. Whereas really everybody needs to unite with one thing in one direction, instead of getting misdirected all of the time. I often put this back to my grandfather. When I'd be sat at his table, my uncle, his youngest son, always used to want to steal our roast potatoes. And he used to say, look out the window. There's a monster outside.
Yeah, look over there. Yeah.
And then we'd get up and look out the window, and then he'd pinch the roast potatoes. And that is what the culture wars do. And so really you need to keep your eye on the ball all of the time, which is what I do.
But apart from the Greens, there is no left option, is there anymore?
The issue we've got is that the Lib Dems, led by Ed Davey is one of the right wing. He probably didn't start out that way, but being in coalition, he was Secretary of State for Energy, and he did all sorts of things with the post office. I'm sure you remember. He
Yeah.
also
Oh, yeah.
delivered the massive bonus for Drax Power, the subsidies for Drax, which costs the best part of £1 billion a year. Those
Yeah, they're
subsidies go to
interesting,
really
Drax.
wealthy
That's
landowners.
Lord Drax, isn't it? Richard Drax. Is he the same?
No, I don't think it is. No, it's called Drax Power. I
No,
don't know what.
the
I don't
power
know
Are
what
plant.
they not like the landowning
plant.
people in Dartmouth?
They are. Yeah, no, the Drax, he owns an estate in Dorset.
But they're not
yeah.
connected
Drax
to Drax
Power-
Energy.
No, Drax Power Plant is a
Oh,
pellet sort of based plant. They import everything from Brazil, I think, if I'm right, to run the Drax
North
Power
America.
Station.
Most
right,
of it
okay.
comes
Is
from
it North America? Oh, okay. Yeah. So,
I mean, other countries as well, but the majority that we import comes from North America.
right.
So the landowners, some of which are British,
Mm.
in North America, they're making a fortune out of it. Yeah, supposedly it's green. It's not green because it's burnt. It doesn't matter whether you burn coal or trees. It doesn't really, it's still not. It's not green. But that was Ed Davey. So he is definitely he's almost like it's like having a
Shapeshifter.
cork in a bottle. So he is the person. That's why Lib Dems are just there as a controlled thing. So as I said, we don't really have an option. I think Corbyn says what people want to hear, the same as Nigel says what people want to hear. And probably his heart is in it to a certain extent, but he let us down with Brexit. And so I just don't see how you can trust him. So that's the problem with that. The only way that we can get back control is by getting back in the single market. It is the only way. There is nothing else. So it's all very well saying, I'm going to vote for Corbyn because I like what he says. Unless he's totally committed and being truthful about the need to get back in the single market, then we're lost. And you've got with the Lib Dems the sort of plan, they promised to go back in the customs union. It's not enough,
Half
it's
measure.
just, it's a half measure. So really we are, I liken it to being in a well. We're like prisoners in a well and nobody's offering us a ladder out at the moment.
Yeah.
And so I will be voting for the Rejoin EU party because there's no one else to vote for.
Yeah,
It's
that's
a long
fair
way
enough.
off yet, isn't it? A lot can happen in 3 and a lot years.
In an ideal world, what we need is for the soft left to take back control.
Do you not think they'll come up with the Sultana Corbyn plan, though?
I don't think the Sultana Corbyn plan will work, no.
I don't
I
think
just
they're
think there's a
organised
lot of
enough at the
lefties
moment.
in this country and they're completely homeless.
Well, that's why people like Clive Lewis and the soft left need to take back control. Stella Creasy, those ones, and it needs that. We also need proportional representation.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we really are down to the wire now, and there could be an early election because there is going to be. I think there probably will be some form of like IMF bailout at some stage because of what Rachel Reeves has done.
Do you really think it'll go that bad?
Yeah, I do.
Because we were talking about this last week, I think, again, and Farage's kind of press conference last week, I think, the one where they were announcing their immigration stuff, and we sort of took from it that maybe they're banking on an early election because I don't think they can keep up what they're doing for another 3.5 years under any circumstances. So I think what we took from that is that some comments were made that led us to think, hold the phone, they're playing this for an early election right now. So you think maybe that's possibility?
I think you have to think outside the box. Starmer's came into politics very late. His project is not to look after Labour. His project is about delivering Singapore-on-Thames. And so I think it is like a relay race, the same as we've seen with Boris, Liz Truss, Theresa May going back, that they just actually pass it from one to the next. And the media, the media is mostly owned by foreign wealthy people, they help that happen. So, yeah, in my view, unless the soft left, and maybe Andy Burnham will come in, or unless they come back in and take control, then I don't know what the answer is. the Lib Dems, if they got rid of Ed Davey and put in a leader who wasn't compromised by this, that would help.
Yeah.
But he's not showing any signs of going anywhere. But Steve Bannon at the early part of this year was interviewed by GB News, and he said, your country is going to end up in a financial crisis and the IMF are going to bail you out and Nigel Farage is going to be your next prime minister. And so that is what they're trying to create.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt in my mind that Glassman, because he went to Trump's inauguration, is that they are
Tied up in
invested
it.
in the project. The same as you've seen Dominic Cummings go from the Tories and he's actually quite friendly with McSweeney. So I think that's what
very.
we're seeing.
The peas in a bloody pod, them two, aren't they?
Yeah.
So it is about the delivery of a project using all of the strings of all of the puppets across the spectrum. Yeah.
That's quite a scary thought. It is.
It's
I
horrifying.
got to be honest.
We're living in an episode of Black Mirror.
Yeah, it feels that way a bit.
It's really, you don't mind if somebody, and that was always the way with Brexit. Nobody really voted for this. It was just one day where 3 million people living here with the EU citizens, they didn't need to get a British passport, but they were excluded. That the EU should have pushed back against that because that was discriminatory. The vote itself was advisory, so it didn't do anything. It got magicked into law via Gina Miller's case through that court case, and then they made it look that Parliament voted for it, but it didn't. And in fact, it was hammered through in 2019 with Boris Johnson, and it is like forcing a divorce through to the absolute stage without doing the nice-eye bit. But actually, so I would say that Brexit is totally illegitimate. I don't think it. I think really it needs to go back to the beginning, and we say actually we've been conned. And there is a case in the ECHR. I don't know if you know that, brought by Ben Bradshaw, Caroline Lucas, and Alan Smith. That started in the UK court. Gosh, going back into the early 2000s, and it's been reviewed on paper recently in the last couple of months, and they have until October to see if their appeal gets approval. If the approval goes through, there will be a hearing in the Grand Chamber, and I'm pretty sure that's why they've turned up the noise on wanting to leave the ECHR, and I'm pretty sure that's why they've accelerated everything now, thinking, and which is why Starmer's also playing silly buggers with ECHR, Jack Straw and others. That they're like, oh my God, we're going to get done, we're going to get caught, and so we've got to leave before that happens.
I'll read up on that. That's interesting.
Yeah, we'll have a look at that. Yeah, I'd not heard about that case.
So Carol Cadwallader works at the Citizens, and so they've been promoting it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But
we'll check that out.
I took the government to court in 2018 to try and find out where the decision was. Because we knew there hadn't been a decision. It was a false decision. The Parliament made it look like they made a decision, but they didn't. They just made a decision to say Theresa May could notify a decision that wasn't made, even though the Supreme Court said that the decision hadn't been made and Parliament had to make it. And that's why that's why we've lost control, because there was no. It's like trying to do a divorce without making agreements about who has the house, who does what, and which kids, how the kids go.
Just get it done and sort it out later, it'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably the only way they could actually have left, particularly for a hard Brexit, because if they'd actually debated it, the public would have understood what coming out of the single market meant for them.
Well, they had to peddle it all on lies,
They never would have
they?
had that approval. So we did that. That case, that decision then went on to a case of Jess Seymour, where the government's lawyer admitted in court that the referendum was corrupt, and they accepted it was corrupt, but it couldn't be vitiated because it was advisory. I mean, you couldn't make it up. So that missing decision is still now live as a legal issue in the ECHR now. If they don't get the appeal, then we might be able to organise enough citizens to appeal to the EU Commission and get that going again. So the whole thing about Brexit being illegitimate actually is kryptonite to us. pro-Europeans, and we should be
Mm.
speaking much more about it. It's kryptonite
Yeah,
to the
absolutely.
likes of Farage and everybody else. They don't want us to talk about Brexit. They want us to be distracted by what's going on in PMQs. Ultimately, we
Mhm.
should be saying all of the time, Brexit is illegitimate.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
corrupted. It wasn't fair. And it wasn't a decision. We never voted for this. Even the people that say we haven't left yet, actually, we can probably get them around going, well, yes, you haven't got what you wanted because this isn't what you voted for in that. And the reason that
Mm.
it's unfair is that you were lied to.
Yeah.
And that's as simple
Perpetually.
as that.
It's really interesting. I saw someone, I can't even remember what it was. It was a press conference. Farage was asked a question about Brexit, and you could literally see the panic in his eyes. He kind of changed his shape moved, his face, shape moved instantly. And then he just waffled away, diverted like he does. So yeah, you're right about that. He does not like it being brought up and brought to his attention, or brought to the public's attention, rather. I think that's the key factor, isn't it? So, yeah.
Oh, it's criminal.
Yeah, and I think I think the right wing are in a real panic, and they are scared of the soft. The soft left are the most powerful group in Parliament, so it is important for us to get behind them and
Mm.
do what we did this week with the sharing of Nigel in Congress. We must stop. We must get together and fight back against our common enemy and for the common good, which is that
Well-
we all support a welfare state. We all support fairness, and
Yeah, sure.
this, and not falling for the belief that when they say, "Oh, someone's got to fill the black hole," no, actually, we need to get back in the single market and get growth back, and
Fair
that's
enough.
what
Yeah.
gets the economy going.
Let me ask you a question then about sort of when you were saying about what happened with Farage this week, because I watched it. I watched it from start to finish. I made notes. I've written a massive 3,000 word article, which I put out this morning about it. Farage, it wasn't about him. When you watch it, it was about, the interference of the EU really within, US tech companies, and they're terrified of that, which goes back to what you were just saying.
Very little to do with Lucy Connolly, it turns out.
Well, let me just say, yeah. So it wasn't the Nigel Farage show at all, but our UK media have portrayed it that he is the great hero and the bastion of free speech. How can we possibly fight against Sky News and the BBC, who are putting out headline after headline saying Farage takes the plight of UK free speech to Congress, when actually that's not even remotely what happened?
I think that the way that it's gone with TikTok and X and social media is that I don't think the big bastions, the big beasts of news have got the power they did. Nobody's really watching. I mean, in fact, we do a podcast with someone called Nick Webb, who is a TV producer from ITV, did Come Dine With Me and all of those programs.
Sure.
And he says that celestial television is dying.
Yeah, I agree
It's
on
close
that, yeah, for sure.
And so I don't think people are getting their news from the BBC as they were. I don't think they're getting their news from the Times newspaper as they were. Of course, some people still read it, but those are getting less. The power is on TikTok and Facebook and
I
X.
don't know how to use
And
it.
so that's what I said. This week, the sharing of those clips of Nigel Farage dominated Twitter and all of the other platforms. I mean, they went absolutely viral. And so this is what I mean, is that we need to connect again. We were connected with People's Vote and we were a strong body,
Yeah,
but it's been
absolutely, yeah.
dissipated. And so we do need to unite again. We haven't got people leading us. But do we need it? As long as we actually can find something, firm to unite around, instead of being distracted and going around the houses with the wrong things. It is actually,
Yeah,
as I
sure.
said, you hold up. If we all agree to just say Brexit is illegitimate, we were conned. If we all just say that, that will just echo everywhere. And that is probably what they did with Take Back Control. It is kind of what we need to do in reverse. And just not getting, well, you said this and, pay your taxes and no, stop all of that. No, the only way we can get back control is to actually delegitimize Brexit and demand that we get back in. We are the majority and we
Yeah, I
need to
agree.
make them feel that. but the confidence has been lost and the connections have been lost. And some of the youngsters, there's a youngster I work with, Ollie Fletcher, who's 24. He couldn't vote in the referendum. So he
Yeah.
feels totally sort of disconnected from it. And as in, well, I do feel bad about it, but I don't feel I was part of it because I wasn't able to vote in it. And we're not connecting with people like him. And they're the future, and that's where we need to be. So we do need
Fair
to
enough.
re-energize the power that we had from 2019.
Speaking of which, isn't the march in a few weeks? Do you know what date it is, Liz?
Yes, the 17th of September.
was
Yes,
gonna
and
say
so
that.
in fact, Ollie is going to be speaking at that, which is
Okay.
great. It's good. I put him forward to speak for the farmers as a youngster, and we're going to have a few tractors there as well, just as some ornaments. So which
Don't
will be
forget
good.
your earrings now.
God, I got to try and find them.
I'll post you another pair.
Oh, you will. My friend who farms down in Sussex, he's bought me a Euro outfit, a Euro
wow.
shirt and Euro
To match Steve
trousers.
Bray.
And he said he's going to make me wear a blue wig. So I need the earrings to match. Yeah.
See, I feel like I missed out on all of this because when all this was happening, I was living in Portugal, and so I
What,
missed
last
out
year?
on all of the Brexit stuff. No, the Brexit original stuff,
Oh,
the
right.
marches and I didn't live in the UK. Unfortunately, I had to return to the UK because of Brexit. But that's another story.
It's a
Yeah.
good day out. It's
That's
a really
where
good
my
day out.
animosity towards Corbyn, well, and Joe Swinson really, because we had won the argument then. We had really, really won the argument, but the rug was taken from under our feet.
Yeah.
Bloody politics.
Yeah. I was just going to mention one more thing about the media and what you were saying about social media and the news. And I think, and we've spoken about it before, that the right, particularly the far right, you mentioned Steve Bannon, are years ahead of the left in terms of using the media, social media and technology. It feels like they're way ahead of the game on that. And
I can tell you why.
I just wonder, there is no space for people of our kind of leanings to sort of coalesce around, like you suggested, because everything's splitting off. And how do we become more tech savvy and use, I put stuff out on Twitter all the time and I'm getting traction, but it's deafening. It's drowned out by the right. It always is. So I don't know. It's hard.
In my view, the blue sky thing is a mistake because it's taken the left and put them in an echo chamber, and 100%. It's then handed. We controlled Twitter before then. We had the left control Twitter, and so that basically, And as I said, this week it came back again with Farage.
Yeah,
suddenly there's sort of like everyone was like, "Oh yeah, I got to get on X to share that."
So
the whole thing about I don't want to be around right wing people, so I'm going to go in here because it's clean is nuts. It doesn't make any sense.
I agree on that.
You've got to be on the coalface. Change the settings. Just look at lists. You don't have to be subjected to the right wing. You can find a way around it, but everybody should be on Twitter and they should be fighting the good cause instead of being in this sort of wounded bird place in blue sky.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So there should be better organisation around. Before we had groups and people were sharing things and there was real energy, for the cause. And that has been dissipated and we need to get that back again because we really are in last chance saloon now.
Yeah. So it's really strange though. I mean, I do all right on Twitter. I'm in the sort of millions per week in my views, which is nice. But I sent a text to Sal yesterday or the day before and just showed my analytics. When you mentioned Farage on Twitter, I got 4 million views in less than 24 hours just by 2 posts about Nigel Farage. There's this symbiotic relationship between him and the media and the social media as well. And that's the link that needs to be broken, right?
That's democratic subversion. And people should be put in prison for it.
I mean, I don't know, obviously the algorithm that Musk has put on Twitter has changed how it
Yeah,
works.
absolutely.
And so it is finding a way around it. I mean, I'm not a tech person, but yeah, I certainly felt that we won the war this week on Twitter.
Hmm.
The left
Yeah,
beat Farage.
definitely.
And we need to make sure that happens every week.
Every week.
Um,
Yeah.
So it probably is to do with, more exposing him. So I'm working on some ideas, as in he's a shark. He only works for sharks, and they want to eat
Mm,
up all the small fish.
that's fair enough.
Because essentially that's what it is. He goes fishing with immigration bait, and people keep voting for that, and then they end up with more of what they don't like. Um,
Hmm.
and it is trying to sort of show people that that's what's going on. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, because this week, the Times didn't even mention that he got absolutely monstered in
No,
Congress and that he looked
no, they
like an
didn't.
absolute tit. Which he did.
He
And
did.
I think actually,
Your
I almost
arse,
wondered
my
if Trump
lord.
got him there to sort of take the flak on the Epstein stuff, because it looked like he did. Um,
Yeah,
but
he did.
he I think we just need to try and find some more ways of exposing that. But the Times didn't even mention that had happened. They're still
No.
making out that he's the next prime minister and so forth.
Right.
So we have to keep exposing that and
Liz,
supporting one another.
can you riddle me this? Because I feel like I've got a massive cognitive dissonance that no one can explain. Never before in the history of my lifetime has anybody looked at a political party with 4 MPs and said, oh, they're going to win the next election. What's going on?
Well, when Jo Swinson had
4
was it 12
MPs.
I think 12 or 14 MPs, and when she said she was going to be the prime minister, she was absolutely slated for saying so. If
Yeah,
you
Yeah.
remember.
remember that.
Yeah, I mean, it is that it is only happening because Keir Starmer decided to elevate him to the opposition, which is why I said they're in bed together. They're in, in fact, they did speak in the chamber together.
Yeah, I
Didn't they? Had
remember.
a little
Very
friendly
well.
chat.
They did.
And going,
So
oh,
there
that's
is
what I'm
no
talking
doubt in my
about.
mind that they want to deliver the American trade deal, which is Starmer's already done that on the quiet through the Henry VIII powers, and they want to destroy democracy. Yeah, so they are working together. There's no doubt in my mind about that.
Yeah.
So we need to get Starmer and McSweeney out.
Okay.
How?
Yeah, that makes sense.
The soft left needs to rise up, and it did rise up over the welfare issue and the cuts.
Yeah, it
And
did.
so it's got to do more of that, and work with the MPs that are on that side, which is the majority.
Well, on that then, this seems like a fairly opportune time because the Conservatives have basically disappeared into their own rat's nest of scraps, and they don't seem to be doing anything anymore apart from joining Reform. So do you think we're at an inflection point within the left, the soft left, where this could happen quite successfully without the Tories being in their way?
There are some good Tories that you may not agree with them on
Yeah.
everything, but there still are some what I would describe One Nation Tories in the Conservative Party who are more to the left, further to the left than Keir Starmer and clan.
At the bloody minute, yeah.
So it really is. They're just people. You've got 650 seats. The Sinn Féin don't do that. I can't remember how
No.
many there are. But
9.
out of those, you've just got to look at each MP individually instead of seeing them through the scope of their party and go, which one has got the strength and the backbone to sit up? And that's why each of us has the power to do that, because we all have an MP that we can lobby.
Sure.
And if your MP is deaf and doesn't do anything, or is one part of the gang, you can then move to a neighbouring seat where they do, and work that way. But that is how we need a sort of stand up for Britain campaign. Probably that's what it is. And really sort of see things differently, rather than Labour, Tory, Lib Dem. It is actually which MP is standing up for Britain, which one of you is standing up for Britain. So
We
I
need
think that
Clive
that
Lewis.
is. Yeah, but we need a body of people. One person can't do it. It needs to be one.
Oh no, so I
one
meant like as
body.
PM, but yeah.
So Open Britain, Mark Kieran is doing a lot of work on proportional representation. He's got the biggest parliamentary grouping that is working hard to try and get PR through. And I do think that that is, again, something that we all should be putting our efforts behind and weight behind. We need PR. We need to get back in the single market. And we need to not fall into the thing of I'm Labour, I'm Tory. Get rid of the tribalism, and you're either for Singapore-on-Thames or you're for liberal Britain. It's one or the other. There's nothing else that exists. Well, unless you believe in Corbyn's Venezuela-on-Thames, but I don't think there is a majority for that.
Is Josh still running Movement Forward for PR?
Yes, yeah, he works.
So people can go
Mark.
and look at Movement Forward and jump on, and if they're interested, and join up with him to push it. Because it's funny, because reforms seem to vary depending on what their polls say, don't they? As to their take on PR.
I think that, look, I mean, I often said, even going before Brexit time, that, going back after the Brexit vote, was that everyone just needs to vote Lib Dem because they're offering another referendum and then it would be gone.
I did.
But nobody would believe that the Lib Dems could take power. They were just like, no, don't be ridiculous. But for some reason, people do believe that 4 MPs could turn out to be the majority.
And not just that, but the people who would be standing to be an MP are the most ridiculous characters you've ever come across in your life. They're like,
but
mad.
it is herd mentality. It is. There is definite herd mentality,
and
it is mostly about the Conservative vote itself, which Kemi Badenoch is a terrible leader. I feel sorry for her in some ways, because I think that a lot of the Tory voters are racist and they are misogynist.
She put herself there.
She's in the worst position. And so perhaps if they had someone like James Cleverly as leader, then it might limit the reform vote.
Don't say it again.
I said that last week.
I'm not having it.
I said it last week.
Go on.
I heard him again on the radio, and I said that if the Tories had Cleverly in power in their leadership, I think they'd have a decent shot at the next election.
Yeah, go away.
I do agree. Yeah.
I think that it would be the best situation, because it would stop the collection.
I fully agree.
It would make the moderate voter vote Conservative.
Yeah, exactly.
And split the vote. Yeah. And so Kemi Badenoch is helping, and if Jenrick gets in, he will help Farage.
Yeah, of course he will. Yeah, 100%. I mean, I don't know.
I actually said to Remainers, join the Tories, because there is going to be a leadership election, and vote for Cleverly if he stands. Because Jenrick will be a disaster.
Oh, without a doubt.
He's a psychopath, man.
Who, Jenrick?
An overt psychopath, yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's a very strange man. But
well, he was a Remainer, so
he's a shape-shifting prick.
Did he start out that way? I didn't realise he started out as a Remainer, did he?
He was a Remainer, yeah. He was a One Nation Tory under David Cameron, yeah.
Under Cameron.
Right.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
He's just another bandwagon jumper,
It's like primary school playground stuff, and I can't get my head around it. I'm nearly 50, and nothing's moved on.
Nadine Dorries is now back in the headlines.
Well, case in fucking point of the mad people, innit?
I know, the next will be Boris Johnson's reform,
Yeah.
Anyway, get his parliament.
Imagine that would be interesting. Imagine Boris and Nigel Farage in the same party. There's not enough room there for 2 days.
I think this is happening now because I reckon Johnson's just bowed out. I did say a few weeks ago that I think Johnson was possibly in the background hovering, but I think he must have bowed out while Nadine Dorries has jumped across, and I think Mogg will go as well, Rees Mogg. But
that would be hilarious. That will win reform, no voters.
What, Rees Mogg? Yeah, I know.
They're the reformatives.
I heard he's on resignation watch. Rees-Mogg. There's a rumor about conference that potentially they might announce him at conference, which starts tonight, I think, isn't it? Friday, the reform conference. So it'll be an interesting weekend.
I wouldn't be surprised if somehow there's tacit joining from Boris. They'll bring it. There'll be pressure because watching from the JCB guy, he's backing reform.
He has, he's gone hard behind Farage, hasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. So and he owns Boris.
He does,
Boris
you're right.
His dog.
Yeah. He bought him everything, didn't he, Bamford? But yeah, that's interesting. I never put those two links together, but you might be right. That'd be quite the coup at the Reform Party conference if they brought out Boris Johnson. But I think that would.
Well, I remember actually after the vote, Nigel saying, we won it because of Boris. He brought the sort of respectable middle vote.
Yeah.
What's respectable about him? Exactly.
No, but there are a section of the country that saw, I don't think they do now since COVID, but I think they saw Boris as respectable Tory person to vote for. And so he said, Nigel said, yes, he brought the respectable vote. And so because Nigel was very much the UKIP, which was the BNP type thing. And now Nigel's trying to be more of the sort of respectable side of things with USAF. And then the sort of far right are with Ben Habib and, the sort of Tommy Robinson are there. But they will want to bring them all together. And it is Boris that will do that.
Wow, that's an interesting one.
You think Boris could
really
bring
interesting.
Like heritage back into reform?
There's plenty of people out there who still like Boris, He's still got the wow factor for some people.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
You just have to get out your bubble and mix with other people and ask them questions.
No.
And put yourself, the best way to do this is with Vox Pops. You could do that. Go out and speak to people. Probably not in Liverpool, but
I don't like people. I'm joking. They just terrify me.
If you go out, get outside of your bubble and talk to them and ask people what they think. I mean, I live near Swindon, so I always think that's quite a good. It's a bellwether seat, and it's always a good way to get a feeling of what's going on the ground.
I'm not far from Swindon. I could get to Swindon quite quickly. Yeah.
Oh, where are you then?
I'm in Gloucestershire, not far from Stroud. So
you're really near me, yeah. So I'm near Cricklade, yeah.
I know it very well. Yeah. Just along the road.
So, well, there we go, Dan. We could go and let's do a Vox Pop session together.
I'd happily do
that. I don't
like
doing it on my own. I always like to do it with somebody else.
Oh, you should definitely do that, you two.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It'd be very much up for that, for sure. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm having...
No, that'd be great. Yeah, it's only... Cricklade's literally 25 minutes up the road, so, yeah.
Yeah, 25 minutes, yeah.
Oh, smash it.
Yeah. Oh, no,
so,
that'd be good.
I mean, Stroud's not bad, but it's because it's quite a green voting area.
Yeah.
But whereas in Swindon, you really do get to the core subject matter, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I did loads with Caelan Robinson but when he was the byline, we did loads in Swindon. We did all the Honda stuff there.
Okay, cool. Oh, yeah, no, I'd love to do that. That'd be great. Yeah, let's do that. We'll make that happen at some point soon. But Sal and I met up last weekend for the first time in real life. We hadn't met each other. We'd done 19 episodes and we met up in Birmingham last weekend. But we should have been doing that. I actually had a microphone in my bag, but we just ended up chatting too much.
And then it still never crossed our minds.
No, the Vox popping is, it's popular. People like to watch it. But it is actually really, it's really enlightening because you really get to feel what people are thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just have to be. Caelan always used to tell me off and say, Liz, because I just want to try and try and redirect people's thoughts.
Yeah.
No, you just have to ask them questions. You're not allowed to try and influence them.
Yeah, fair enough. You can do that off camera. Yeah. But
what is it about perpetual liars you find so trustworthy?
But you know, you have to also understand that because of psychology, if you make somebody feel defensive, you're never going to get through to them. Yeah. So you have to agree with them. And then you sort of sow the seeds of, well, did you know about this? And then you sort of attack it slowly.
Still involved in my self-improvement work myself, so.
I said to Sal, I keep seeing Dale Vince locally in the cafe. So
Not a fan.
Sal's told me I have to vox pop him next time I see him, but I haven't seen him for a couple of weeks. But he lives down the road, so
He did a thing where he was making out that farming is really bad for the environment, all this sort of thing. And he had a piece of land which he reckons he rewilded, but the only reason he was able to get it back growing anything was because he put pigs in there, because pigs will root out and
right,
pull up
Truffle.
all of the
yeah, sure.
and so he was disingenuous about that from the start. So yeah,
That's
he's
disappointing,
but
isn't
he's
it?
another one that probably likes the idea of one rule for the few, and yeah, there's kind of this peasantry. I think
Oh, we'll have to
where
get him on.
we
I'd
are.
love me one of them.
No.
Well, if I see him
Yeah,
in
I don't
Nailsworth,
know.
I'll grab him. But yeah, I haven't seen him for a little while. So yeah,
I don't like dishonest people. They drive me nuts. It's a very difficult life.
yeah,
It is. Well, I think most. I mean, you just want everyone to have a balanced, fair crack
Moderation.
at the whip. It's impossible to get everything completely equal, but as fair, which is why I was a fan of the EU.
But this
yeah,
shit,
yeah,
Why I still am
absolutely.
a fan of the E EU.
this is next level mental.
Yeah.
It is.
Can
But
I
still,
ask you? I had written down a few questions for you, Lynn, but I basically wanted to ask you one more. It's a bit of an awkward one, perhaps, but the no farmers, no food, James Melville thing, is that doing good stuff for farming, or is it, or are you not prepared to put that
look,
down?
look, there's not at all awkward. I'm very happy to talk about James. James Melville started life as a Remainer, and he was very good at social media. And
Yeah, he was.
he did work for Byline for a while, and he got sacked for plagiarism. And a couple of years ago, because we started Save British Farming well over 5 years ago.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, this No Farmers, No Food came up, led by James, who had been involved in another story about a butcher's in Scotland or something. There was something weird about that.
The
And I was like,
famous one. Yeah.
why is he suddenly coming into farming?
Mm.
Well, look, it's linked to a movement called Together, the Together movement, which is run by someone called Alan Miller, who is all involved in the anti-vax and anti-ULEZ
Okay.
campaign, and another woman called Leslie Caton, who ran the PR for the Brexit Party. They are an AstroTurf campaign of the Reform Party. And James himself is a charming person to speak to. I've spoken to him. And he's very good on social media and gets lots of clickbait out there. But it's just an AstroTurf clickbait thing.
That's exactly what I was thinking, because, weirdly, when I was going to Spain and we got the ferry to Spain, and there was 3 cars in the ferry that had no farmers, no food stickers on the back of them. So you see it, it's obviously very, popular might not be the right word, but it's very visual. You see it a lot. And I just did a little search this morning, and on Twitter, when you put it in, no farmers, no food, it's just a list of accounts with British flags, no farmers, no food, Brexiteer. And as you said, it feels like an AstroTurf kind of a grift, effectively. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, I mean, look, we did start using No Farmers, No Food. We had those posters 5 years ago. I've still got some here. I don't use them now because of that. But we didn't have the yellow and black sign. We just used No Farmers, No Food. The thing is, it resonates to farmers. It makes sense to farmers. But actually, to the public, they don't really understand what it means.
No.
And in some ways, they've been clever in making it yellow and black because it's very recognizable.
Yeah.
As a mascot, but it still doesn't mean anything. But they go, what does it mean?
No.
And because ultimately, if there are no farmers in Britain, it just means all imported food from America, Brazil, blah blah blah.
As you said at the beginning, yeah.
So I mean, we used to dress in clothing which was made by farmers. That clothing is now mass produced across the world it's controlled by, I think it's 4 or 5 corporations, and that is what they want to do with food. Exactly the same corporation.
Yeah. So it's come full circle. Yeah.
So there's no doubt that James Melville is good at clickbait. He's good on Twitter. It's a grift. He was involved with the conspiracy stuff on ULEZ and vaccine. And I guess that's his job.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
He's a nice enough guy to speak to. I wouldn't describe him, and he probably is to some extent quite left wing, but he's decided to go in that camp because they're paying him.
Do you know
There's
who
more
also
money to be
fits
made
in that
on the right.
description,
Yeah,
Liz?
exactly.
Boris Johnson fits into that exact description too.
Yes, exactly. Boris does. Yeah. Yes, he does. Yeah. But it's a bit more complicated with Boris because his dad is thoroughly responsible for a lot of where we are. He looks like an idiot, but Stanley he used to work for the UN and the Rockefeller World Bank. He spent years working on what I was talking about before we got interrupted by Rayner's resignation, Malthusianism. And neo-Malthusianism, which is they believe that overpopulation is something to be scared of.
Him
which
and
is
Rees
why you
Mogg
get
Senior.
this anti-immigration thing. So Malthus was before Darwin. They're actually interrelated. But in our elite schools and universities, they still teach Malthusian economics, and that is why that's why I think is a lot of the problems we've got, particularly in Britain, is still in this belief that Malthus was right. And the climate emergency has added to that, because there is a view that, climate emergency is here, so there's too many people.
They're actively trying to depopulate.
I don't care if millions are dying in Gaza. It's desensitization.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Malthusianism and eugenics were at the root of World War II.
It's psychopathy.
And they're back.
Yeah. Yeah. The eugenics thing again, that comes up more often than we'd like to think. It's often brought up, isn't it? It's how we talked about it.
By
many
definition,
times,
predatory humans are psychopaths.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody
scary.
sees it in terms of their own community. And, these foreigners have moved in and I don't like them and they're the invaders. But for the rich, it isn't about that. They're in a first-class lounge.
Yeah.
And it's
never going to touch them.
All of us underneath who are that, they want to be able, and with robots coming in, everything, of course, that, they probably do. There probably is this like, well, actually, we don't need all of these useless.
But they're out of touch with reality at the same time. That's the problem.
Of course they are.
Their reality is so far removed from the majority's reality that it's an absolute fucking nonsense. And I can't believe mad people are in charge of everything.
They are. I know. It's not helped by the civil services. The system that we have here is just not working. So, and it hasn't been working well for a long time. So it's been a sort of incremental thing, but the dysfunction is accelerating at a rate of knots.
Have you seen?
We need to go into special measures.
Have you seen 2073, Liz?
No. What is that? Film?
No.
I've still not seen it.
Right, you and Liz. 2073 is an incredible docu-film.
I keep forgetting.
Which is Samantha, I want to say Samantha Norton. It's not Norton, is it?
Morton.
Thank you. Samantha Morton stars in like the fictional bit, which is the projection of where we are now and where we're going to be in 2073. But it's using actual documentary evidence of, I don't know, now to prove how that's going to happen. It's everything you and I have been, all of us have been talking about ad infinitum. It's that projected, but it's
I'm
validating.
Living it. I don't know if I need to watch it as it is. I can every day.
It's really validating though, and if you can spread it around and if that film went viral, we'd be halfway home and dry. It's really, really good.
I'm just looking at the cast
another
on
night.
that.
I'm waking up screaming, waking up my whole family. Going,
as if you sleep properly. Behave. It's been 10 years for me.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the cast of that on Wikipedia in 2073. And it starts off with Samantha Morton and Naomi Ackie, the actors, and then it gets to Carol Cadwallader, George Monbiot, James O'Brien of all people. So they must be pulling in clips as you say.
It's a docu-film.
I will watch it this week.
Everybody in the world should watch that film.
Yeah,
I will watch it.
Yeah, I'll get on it.
It's not hard, but it is validating.
Yeah, cool. What time are we on? 1 o'clock.
Oh,
yep. I'm gonna have to fly.
Thank you so much for your time. I'm really appreciative.
So brilliant. Yeah, thank you.
So, I'm definitely up for doing a vox pop if you fancy doing that, Dan.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Definitely
absolutely. Let's arrange that for some point soon. Yeah,
All right.
that'd be fantastic.
And I'll see you on the 17th.
Indeed. See you then. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks very much.
Bye.
Bye.